Get whatever you need to relax. Get animals. Get stuff to get cuddly with. Get the stress
I've got
out.
my cat.
Stress, clean some dishes. It's gonna be obviously this is gonna be, as I've said, a pretty big finale one. So it's a buckle in one. You're level
Um,
13, so we'll see. So we go
just an
swinging.
interesting thing. You mentioned stress doing dishes, stress doing lots of things. Right now, my brain has hyperfixated on emergency preparedness. So I'm currently in in my kitchen packing up a bunch of bags of like food into a little go bag container for like 5 days worth of food, just in case. Because this is the right time to do that, apparently.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going camping this week, and tomorrow we'll be doing that. It's like trying to pack up food and stuff, but out of you need, not for hyperfixation. Love it. Stress food prepping. I love it. Cool. Yeah, as I've always said, it's a buckle in one. I'll be swinging at you guys hard, and we'll see how it goes. I have already been updating new things with new toys from the new monster manual. You won't notice too much huge like things will be hitting a little bit more better or a little more often and a little stronger. Um, the one thing I do want to bring up, I'll just touch on it real quick. I put it in the general chat, but counterspell. We all know it got a big rework. Um, the key thing I want to focus on is like now it's a save, right? So let's say Charlie Calum is counterspelling Fazul. So normally it was an ability check if he needed to defeat the thing. But now in the new version, Fazul would do a con save and beat Calum's spell save DC, right? And then whatever happened. But if he failed in the new rules, Fazul would, or we would, what we'd read it is keep a spell slot. Um, but they did a really big key change to monster stats. Not a single monster that I've read has a spell slot. Um, Essentially, they took like, oh, you have a level 9 caster. Here's 4 or 5 spells that are what you really want to be using. No one cares about Tiny Hut and an Archmage's stats block. Here's Lightning Bolt. And they get a per day usage. They don't have spell slots. So the way the community is reading, and I agree with this interpretation, unless they say otherwise, is oh, Calum counterspells Fazul. Fazul fails, though it says you can keep the spell slot even though you failed. Uh, it's not a spell slot, so he loses that ability or that spell. Compared to a player, if that happens to Calum in his spell casting, and he fails and his spell is counterspelled, Calum gets to keep his spell slot. So there were people afraid of like, well, what happens to the 9th level spell with these guys, and they just keep keeping the spell slot and keep casting it. So they did seem like to address that. So that's the rough of it. Does anybody have any questions about that or anything? Obviously, it'll be something we'll learn in the moments and stuff better, but I do think it's worth noting it for your strategy and understanding how counterspell works. I know Charlie, you've expressed like it's definitely not as good as it was before, and I feel bad like 9th level spells just keep on. It's like, oh yeah, he's I'm counterspelling it, but we know power word kills coming right behind it. Legendary resistances, from what I've seen, to kind of compensate for that, seem to have gone up for things. Things that were 3 are now 4. Legendary actions still exist for stuff, and they retooled those to make them better. In the past, there used to be stuff like you need to use 3 legendary actions to do this one of these. But now, from what I can tell, they kind of got rid of all that. Everything you can do is a legendary action, but there are some where it's like, oh, you did it, but you can't use that one again until the beginning of your next turn because that one's really good. So you'll notice a little bit of changes, but things will be relatively the same. Cool.
So, the monster, have you seen any monsters that had any spell slots?
So far,
Even like a
no.
weaker one?
I looked at Archmage and Mage since those are the traditional thing, and now it was all per day uses.
So, last sentence of counterspell, if that spell was cast with a spell slot, the slot isn't expended. Is that more for like player on player PvP?
Essentially,
now, or
or just anything hitting a player. Yeah, that benefit is for a player. Is the way I read it. Yep. If it has a spell
well, I meant
slot, yeah.
I meant like if like Archie, let's say spellcaster casts fireball on me using a spell, or let's just say fireball, casts a
Hmm.
fireball, and I counterspell that uses spell slot. That's a person
Hmm.
because that's an actual player character. But if there's no monsters without a spell slot, then that last sentence of counterspell
Well,
is
no, the Fazul can still counterspell you, right? Using a monster, the Lich can still counterspell you. You go cast
oh okay.
fireballs, Calum. You get to keep. If
Yep.
you fail, you keep it. So it's still player side, and monsters can use it against you. Right. I think that's where it really shines. Yeah, and you're right. PvP would apply to that too. Yeah, if the player's the one doing it, you keep your spell slot. Yeah.
Now the question is, does monsters have counterspell?
We'll find out, won't we? A little bit I've seen, and not a lot of stuff has counterspell. But as a DM, I still will always be, you know what? I want counterspell for this guy. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, true.
Maybe I've seen monster spellcasters that can do it like a lot and do it as reactions, and they like built it in, or they have like counterspell like abilities. Maybe those exist. I'm just throwing it out there. Okay. Yeah, good questions. For your strategic planning for coming to spellcaster, I wanted you to be clear on that. Cool. Any other questions before getting the recap? All right. Last time, I'll get the dread down a little bit. 1 second. You all pretty much did a heist and successfully freed prisoners from being eaten. Mortal folks brought down to the hells for the bloody feast. A lot of planning, and as we know of D&D, I did send some complications, but it really hinged on 3 nat ones, which was wild and crazy. And that led to things kind of falling apart for a little bit, and the pressure being put upon you all. But you're still the superheroes that you are, and were able to get through it. Plane shifting a part of the building itself away temporarily to Isgard, which is kind of heroic battlefields for those who have died. One little thing I wish I'd thought of in the moment, I thought about it like days later, uh, was, Ishka. I don't know if you still have it, the Horn of Valhalla, right? Use it in the Fazul fight.
Yep.
I like to imagine they've been like, Ishka! Like, that's where they are, right? Waiting for you to call. Like, it's the Horn of Valhalla, but to me, it really should be the Horn of Isgard. Like, those were the kind of people that a person like you would attract through the horn. So I like to imagine, like, a couple of them were like, was that Ishka? That's that lady, that's the chick that was like calling us a few times. Yeah. Hope she calls us again, man. Like, kind of thing. But yeah, you got them out, and surprisingly, Hiromi showed her charisma, though she's usually in the background, and helped Caleb and Ishka navigate the bloody feast itself. And good checks against angels, fallen angels, pit fiends, all sorts of folks who could have made life more difficult. But you kind of sailed through that. You did come out of that situation with um, sorry, I have so many. I've slammed my brain in there. Strahd. I kept trying to say Vecna for the name Strahd. Strahd, Caleb's father, upset, right? Because when Zariel came in, he was made to kneel, and he felt that was very disrespectful of someone of his station. So he kind of left in a harumph. I know it's doing that short service to what you guys did, but that was kind of the bones of it. You were able to get them out and plane shift away, sneak out, get back on as Samaris came in. Samaris now realizes that Unisol indeed is in the Hell Bitch, the flagship car that Vrakir's sponsoring in the race that he is sponsoring. So she came in and was a little bit close to Unisol for a second, but instead of creating any issues, and seemingly you all escaped without any notice. And your covers being called into question. And you made it back to the Bastard, where we essentially were RPing at the end of just kind of unpacking everything that happened, things coming forward, unpacking a lot about the morality ethics of Lorelai. I thought that was great, as Lorelai is currently gone and was setting up, helping arrange the futures, not dictating their futures, but helping the people they freed, giving them job opportunities, and if not, like gold on their ways. So we will end up pulling back into that moment where you guys, you're still fresh, quote unquote, off of um the prison break, and you're on the Bastard in the war room, kind of unpacking before night comes, and the next day will be the Hell Ride proper. And I have you're gone, Lorelai, right? But feel free to, finish your business and show back up
I
if you
think
wanted.
I think I did show back up right at the end there. I like walked in and Warden was like, "See, she's here. Like she can tell you she wasn't doing that."
Oh
And I was
yeah.
like, "Oh."
You're like, what? Yep.
So, you know, just providing an opportunity, right? If they needed it. I also just spent the last hour plane shifting to like 7 different places to take a bunch of people home. So like, you know, it was also very selfless.
Like when you do this, do you see, oh, my heart is breaking, or do you see profit?
Oh no, I did this because I think that cannibalism and soul eating is wrong. And I
Okay. Okay.
was, listen, seeing that corpse that Strahd was eating and realizing later that it wasn't a corpse. I'm not gonna lie, that fucked me up a little bit, you guys. That was rough. I had thought I thought I've seen some pretty messed up shit in my life. That was really messed up. And I just couldn't, knowing when and where it was gonna happen, I just I couldn't let that go. So I'm sorry if that, I know that that was maybe not the best strategic call to make targets of ourselves, the night before the hell ride, potentially put it at risk.
I think we'll
You
get
know,
through it.
I've got a lot of regrets, but I don't know how that one would have sat with me.
Hey, you pulled it off. So,
Barely.
but you pulled it off. As far as we know so far, and if there's any lingering issues, we'll deal with them as they come up. But
They have no
I think
proof.
you did good work.
Thanks.
Now you know what to expect when we go to Barovia.
Is that really common in Barovia?
I don't do it, but
That doesn't
Pappy
answer
does.
that question.
My father does.
Did you
Pretty
just
common.
call him Pappy
No, I said father.
before that?
You definitely said Pappy.
Maybe I just got a little confused for that little
I
moment.
can't imagine ever calling that man Pappy, but you do you, Caleb.
Sometimes he prefers it,
That's
or I
even
get
weirder.
punished. Or I get punished.
Don't talk back to Pepper.
Yeah,
Way
that's
weirder.
So we're all
strange.
gonna to have silence spells cast upon us if we ever go to Barovia, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, you can speak your mind after he's gone forever.
I can't remember. Did you tell me why your dad's down here? Checking
He
on all
wanted
the
to,
boys.
yeah, he wanted to check up on us and or check up on me and our progress. And he wants that book of Vile Darkness.
This is half Nate asking above table, but we'll keep it in Nebby's kind of like RP. It's like, have you told me the plans that you have with the book and stuff? Like, I'm keeping the book, right, and locking it away and whatnot.
I gotta make a copy of the book.
Don't read the
I mean,
book.
I
The
gotta read it.
copy is going to Strahd, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
Roll a deception check. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, technically, it's...
No, I think I think you're telling the truth, but obviously you can just choose whatever one. I'm just making a joke about deception. He is rolling an insight against you, but kind of getting a read and whatnot. And that 20
All right.
deception. Ooh. Okay.
Deception? Wait,
Well,
I thought
let's not look
was
into
the
what.
plan, right?
Yep. Well, we
I was
don't.
gonna roll charisma check.
No, I was gonna ask before I saw what the role was, but Lorelai is gonna ask to clarify when Nebby brings that up. Like, yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about it since we had to make all those promises to your dad, but like, what you said he relies a lot on you for his magic stuff, magic knowledge. So like, would he recognize a copy?
Well,
Would we be able to only do that? I think we were gonna ask the lady to maybe help us get in contact with the wizard if you can't do it, but what's your plan?
I was planning on making a copy and give it to Dad, but yeah, I mean, you're not wrong by asking if he's going to figure it out or not. I mean, who knows? And if it's not bright, like if he sees a deception in it, well, what's going to happen next? I mean, I can probably cast spells in there. Like if he opens a certain page, it does like this little mirage of darkness that happens. Just kind of more for the deception, but who knows what that book does? Other than kills the person that reads it, apparently.
Who knows what it
So why do
does?
you want to read it?
I gotta make copies of it.
I feel like there's more to
I
it
don't
than
think
that.
that's
No,
Can I do an insight check on that?
don't make actual copies, please.
Well,
Right,
it's
wait.
gonna be like a certain ingredient would be like different. So something asks for nightshade, we'll put lilies in there.
But you're not like making copies to keep. Like you're not gonna make a copy of it for yourself, right? Of everything that's true in it, right?
Like I said, it's just
No, give me.
different wordings.
No, I'm not talking about the book or given to your daddy. You said copies plural, my friend. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, I said copies?
You did say copies.
You did ask if I can make copies of it.
But like, okay. Well, I'm going to compartmentalize this for a second, okay? Can you make a convincing copy that is not the actual book for your father? I think that's a yes. Or hopeful. Are you making an
Yes.
actual true copy for yourself?
Well, if I need a true copy, I think it requires more than just copying the book. Probably requires like me sacrificing souls or whatever.
Yeah, it might need that, right?
Yeah,
Are you going to
so-
do that?
No.
Okay. Do you guys believe him? Should we trust him? Is he going to be sucking souls out and putting it in there? I'm locking this book up because it's dangerous. I don't want anybody making copies of this shit.
Well,
I mean, he's dumb, but he's not that dumb. No offense.
To make
What-
another point,
Okay.
we don't want it to be able to be so similar, but that it could be reversed engineered back into its previous form either. You know,
Yeah, you need to put in some mistakes, right? You need to like copy it, but then mess up all the bad shit. Like if there's like a spell to like explode a planet, you should like change some of those equations, right?
Mm.
Yep.
Hirami kind of like crosses her arms. I don't exactly see the point of this book if reading it causes the reader harm. Does it grant you power as well?
Yeah, I have to imagine it probably grants you power.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah. So
After
okay.
you
And it's probably hurts.
die.
Mhm, mhm.
That would
Well,
kill you. I
there's
think
a
it's
good
just-
chance you'll die.
Are we so certain that your father will be reading the book himself and not forcing somebody else to read it?
He'll probably have me read it.
Well, if you're determined to make a copy of this book, is there any way that we can set up a trap for your father? That way you don't have to make an exact copy of this dangerous book, but is there some way to magically trap him or weaken him once he opens it?
I don't know if he's going to read it or not. Like I said, he could just have me read it.
Hmm. Do you think he would
Which-
take the chance of you reading it? If you succeed, then you would gain whatever power that this book has.
I think that's what he wants. Could be what he wants.
the book is filled with knowledge. There's some powers associated with it. But some of the most evilest motherfuckers that have ever existed in the eons have contributed to this book. Do you all know who Vecna is? Anyone?
No.
Ring a
Take my
bell?
word for it.
Ring a bell, anyone? Lich
Yeah.
God, evil,
Your me
Mhm.
knows.
God of Whisperers. One of the first
No.
liches.
Sounds like a fuck.
He is a fuck.
Try-
He's the founder of this book. So,
Maybe.
So he's like a
Wait,
big edgelord or something.
oh, he's a huge edgelord. He is the edgiest of the lords, and he's also one of the evilest, most connivingly smart motherfuckers in the universe, multiverse. He put stuff in there like how the idiot's guide to being a lich. Other people have put in names of powerful demons and devils in it. True names. Spells so evil it would make your pappy's dinner look like fucking a cupcake. Alright? That stuff is trapped inside of it. And if someone can push through the edginess, the evil edginess of that, they can tap into that and try and use it.
And you think that your father is using you, Calum, for this book? You don't think he would read it for himself?
I'm sure he's using me for a lot of things. I mean, how many mechanical raptors are on the ship?
What exactly is the plan once your father finds that the book isn't actually the book?
I think by then we were kind of hoping. I mean, weren't we hoping to like depose your dad at some point? Hopefully he's dead before he can figure that out.
Yeah, which could happen. Or he might just show up one day like he did today over here and just demand the book. Or he's still here and hasn't left, and after he watches the race and win the book, he might ask for the book right away. But he
I mean,
did
I think
say,
that is, yeah, that's the worry, right? But he knows we have to make a copy for Neppy, so he's at least going to give us a day or two, right?
yep,
Okay.
And if he wants you to hand it
Maybe
over,
he-
it doesn't sound like he wants you to read it necessarily.
true.
But maybe you could convince him to let you. And then you don't read it and take all of the evil, dark powers in it.
Don't
Just
read it.
my 2 cents. No, I don't know how it works. I don't know if just reading it alone imparts the knowledge, reading it to the extent of copying it, or if you have to do some kind of weird dark magic blood sacrifice shit with reading it to like really, make it final, but the least amount of like reading you can do to make this happen, I think would be ideal.
Or I could read a chapter, another person can read a chapter, then another person can read a chapter. Then
I
we
don't.
just combine it all.
I shouldn't read that book. Not a good
Yeah,
idea.
Hmm.
yeah. But actually, how does Fizzle
I would
feel?
probably, I would probably be okay with reading a chapter or two. I have some training in the arcane, but
Mhm.
and it's similar to a wizard's training. Obviously, I don't think I am not as capable as someone like Caleb, or even someone who trains fully as a wizard. But if you just need someone to help out or spread the burden, I could take on a bit of it.
I want you all to know something about the book. It is not made for the curious. There's laws in the multiverse. Evil begots evil. You gotta be a nasty motherfucker to be able to read that book and take what it gives you. And there might be a reason why I'm talking into your moralities and ethics and such. So far, none of you have stricken me as a pure evil motherfucker from what I've seen so far. If you do not have the capability of evil inside your heart, do not try and read the book. I've had friends who have tried to read the book, good people,
Isn't
and they did not survive.
so we don't want evil people reading it either.
Right,
So
that's
isn't it
why
better
I'm
that someone's just
taking
not
it
going to use it?
and locking it away. I say this for your own safety. You do not want to actually read the book.
Right, but if Caleb's making a copy
He's not
and
doing a
he's
true copy. That's what I would say. I will not do a true copy. If you can fool your
well, but
father into
he's
it,
reading the book to make the copy.
I wouldn't even do that.
How does he make the copy then?
Does your father
Make it up.
understand magic? You've said he leans on you.
That's why he relies on me.
As Waldron
I
said,
Perhaps you
make it
can-
up. You can try to read it, my friends,
Well,
but
doesn't seem like a good idea. And also, this is more of a means to get us out of here, right? I mean, obviously, at some point, he would realize that this is a fake anyway, and at that point, he's going to be coming after us. So, as long as it's convincing, because as far as I know, he doesn't know magic.
So we make him a copy of a book without reading the actual book, not even
Let's
opening
go
it.
with that.
I'm not very good at convincing him.
Help. Some of us are a little more experienced with the arts of deception. I don't know shit about the arcane. We just covered that I barely can even read, but I can be creative when, the need arises.
I've got the source of some very
But will he be willing to talk to you guys?
He doesn't need to talk to us. We're helping you make the copy.
Unless it was someone who he's seen has been at your side and has been loyal to
I
you.
mean, I'm pretty convincing. So is Hiromi. I think he sees a couple of us as having at least your best interests at heart. So between all of us, right? Working together with forgery and convincing and deception, I think we've got a lot of skills here.
And if we win this hell ride, when we win this hell ride, because we don't have any other option, that'll presumably get us even more on his good side.
I'm gonna have to think on this for a bit.
Well, we don't have that much time left.
I understand, but I work well when I think for a while and come up with a. That's what I do. Is I kind of look at it outside the box in a sense, and I question things a lot. Just to, you probably have heard me a couple times. Like I'll question you for things that you want to do. Make sure that you're thinking clearly. So I think I need some time to think.
Fair.
Fair enough.
Because basically I'm going through the what ifs in my mind. Like Ishka would be perfect, but however, if Ishka just comes up and says, "Oh yeah, this book is good," he doesn't trust her no more. So he might question why is she being so nice all of a sudden. The only thing that I can think of is like Hiromi showed some kind of power, and Hiromi was at the party with me, with Akumu eating that corpse, or was going to be a corpse until Akumu ate it, then it became a meal, so another meal. But he saw that, was terrified by it. So maybe Hiromi could probably persuade in a sense. But I don't know how that's going to work out. That's why I need to think about it.
Is there some way? I noticed that your father was quite irritable after bowing to Zariel. My interaction with Zariel wasn't very lengthy, but I wasn't exactly kind in our conversation. Perhaps I could angle it some way.
I think he was more pissed that he had to bow because she was the ruler of this place. Because if anything, we'll be entering his realm. He's the rule. And he's the law. So you showing power in his realm might not work. But that could be options we could still have on the table.
Right. Well, for now, we might just have to improv a bit, stall, but whatever we can do to have none of us, including Strahd, read that book, I think that's, in my opinion, priority number one with it.
I mean, I can always make the outside cover look very convincing, and then we'll open it up. Just have Archie draw pictures in there or whatever. And then I cast like a, I don't know, arcane lock on the spell. Or arcane lock on the book and see if he can try to, if it won't open for him, but opens for me, then